Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in News Hour. Monsoon session of Parliament commences, but witnesses repeated disruptions on day one. Prime Minister calls for constructive cooperation. Russia downplays expectations from potential Ukraine peace talks, says stark divisions remain, date still under discussion. Iran to hold a dual round of nuclear talks, first with Russia and China on Tuesday, then with Europe on Friday amid sanctions risk. And Civil Aviation Minister Naidu defends the AI's 171 probe, highlights India's first domestic black box decode, cautions media against biased reportage, urges all to wait for final report. The monsoon session of Parliament began today, but the first day was marred by repeated disruptions. The opposition parties raised loud demands for a discussion on the recent Pahalgam terror attack and Operation Sindoor, leading to multiple adjournments through the day. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the media earlier, setting the tone for the session. Let's take a look at this report for more details.
Before the Parliament convened this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the media outside the Parliament, calling for constructive cooperation. He lauded the armed forces for the successful Operation Sindoor and also pressed the opposition for rising above party politics and uniting for India. He also said he expects the opposition to show similar unity for Bharat during the monsoon session.
आतंकवादी और आतंकवादी के आके दुनिया का ध्यान उनकी तरफ केंद्रित हुआ था और उस समय दल हित छोड़ करके देश हित में हमारे ज्यादातर दलों के प्रतिनिधि, ज्यादातर राज्यों के प्रतिनिधि विश्व भ्रमण किया, दुनिया के अनेक देशों में गए और एक स्वर से दुनिया के सामने आतंकवादियों का आका पाकिस्तान को बेनकाब करने का एक बहुत सफल अभियान चलाया.
PM Narendra Modi also highlighted and underlined how the left-wing extremism, including Naxalism and Maoism, has been significantly curtailed across the country.
नक्सलवाद का, माओवाद का दायरा बहुत तेजी से सिकुड़ रहा है. माओवाद को, नक्सलवाद को जड़ से उखाड़ने के संकल्प के साथ देश के सुरक्षा बल एक नए आत्मविश्वास से, तेज गति से सफलता की ओर कदम रख रहे हैं.
The session began at 11 a.m. with the Lok Sabha paying tribute to the victims of the tragic Pahalgam terror attack and the recent Air India crash in Ahmedabad. But barely had proceedings started when protests by opposition members forced an adjournment. Opposition parties demanded an immediate discussion on Operation Sindoor and the Pahalgam attack. The House was adjourned multiple times, first till noon, then again till 2 p.m., and finally for the day shortly after a brief 4 p.m. reconvening. In the Lok Sabha, the lower house, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh stated that the government is ready for a discussion, but only as per the rules set by the Speaker. The Speaker Om Birla also expressed strong displeasure over repeated disruptions by the opposition. Later in the day, the Business Advisory Committee of the Lok Sabha has decided to dedicate 18 long hours for discussion on Operation Sindoor. Over in the Rajya Sabha, however, some legislative work did proceed. The leading bill was taken up and passed even as opposition members voiced concerns. With the first day of the monsoon session being faced with repeated disruptions, it looks like this monsoon session has had a stormy start. Both houses will reconvene tomorrow at 11 a.m., expecting to conduct legislative business smoothly over the week. Divendu Mondol's report for DD India.
And to put into perspective what expectations are from this session, we have with us Ashok Tandon, senior journalist, who's joining us. Thank you, Mr. Tandon. So, you know, an 18-hour-long discussion on Operation Sindoor is being put together by the Business Advisory Committee. What does this indicate about the Treasury's willingness to discuss national security issues? Sir, did you hear me? Can you hear me, sir? Yeah, can you hear me, sir? Let me repeat my question. You know, in an 18-hour-long discussion on Operation Sindoor, what does it show that about the Treasury's willingness to discuss national security issues?
Of course, you know, before the opposition could put forward their demand for a discussion, the government so moto announced that they have earmarked 16 hours for a debate on these issues, including Operation Sindoor, and that meets the opposition demand because this will also include the Pahalgam terror attack. So I think there was no point for the opposition to disrupt the proceedings of the House when the government itself has agreed to discussion. But the only thing was the timing of the discussion which the government has agreed, because the Prime Minister will be on a foreign tour from 23rd to 26th. So obviously the discussion would take place next week. I think the opposition was not satisfied, so they were interrupting the proceedings of the House, and that's why the House had to be adjourned 3-4 times. So, but I think still the government could make a point that they are willing to discuss all the issues on the floor of the House, but under rules, not under pressure from the opposition or from the opposition disruption.
Indeed.
I think opposition wanted immediate discussion. So that was the only difference. But the government scored a point by agreeing to a 16-hour discussion on Operation Sindoor and the Pahalgam terrorist attack.
Mr. Tandon, also, you know, will the introduction of major bills like the income tax bill as well as, you know, several other bills deliver a proper debate and scrutiny in the House, given the kind of disruptions that we are seeing?
Yes, the government has, you know, made it intention clear that they propose to table 7 pending bills that have been listed for consideration and passing, while 8 new bills have been listed for introduction, consideration and passing. And I can give the list. But today, Rajya Sabha could transact a business, and they did pass at least one piece of legislation. But I think the hallmark of today's proceeding was the customary speech, if I may say so, but it was an interaction with the media outside Parliament House. And also, the Prime Minister held a very high-level meeting with his senior colleagues, ministers, and they discussed the proceedings in the House in the coming days. So the PM was taking note of how the House is to be conducted, what the government plans are, and how to meet the opposition challenge. So Prime Minister today was available in both in Lok Sabha, especially during the obituary reference time, and after the opposition, you know, stalled or tried to stall the question hour. I think in a day one belongs to the government. They scored a point by announcing 16-hour discussion, and the Rajya Sabha, you know, clearing one interesting piece of legislation.
So you did mention the Prime Minister being going abroad this week. But, you know, should the Parliament then reaffirm India's stance for a long period of time that India has this multi-partisan approach to foreign policy, everyone should be on the same page? Are we seeing that? I mean, if Parliament is being disrupted over the Prime Minister visiting a foreign country, it doesn't make any, you know, it clearly doesn't show that the that the opposition is standing with the government on foreign policy?
No, I think the only point which opposition was trying to make was that if it was known that the Prime Minister would be visiting two foreign countries, particularly the UK, to sign the FTA, and also Maldives, to be the chief guest for their annual day and the celebration. But I think these are things which are not decided, because the parliament session, particularly the monsoon session dates, are known much before these two visits were planned. So opposition can't blame the Prime Minister. So these are equally important international commitments which the Prime Minister has to meet. So I think the opposition can wait for 2 to 3 days, or maybe for this particular week. And then the Prime Minister, the Treasury benches, and the Parliamentary Affairs Minister has assured the House that the Prime Minister will be responding to all the points which the opposition will be raising concerning these particular two discussions. So I think the point the opposition was trying to make was that they should have been taken into confidence whether the Prime Minister was visiting, and the session could have been adjusted accordingly. But the session dates are decided much in advance. So therefore, that point also, I don't think the opposition can really score a point on this issue.
Sure. Mr. Tandon, also, do you see that this issue of special intensive revision, SIR, of the voter roll in Bihar, should it be discussed in Parliament, or is the proper institution the Election Commission for this?
No, in fact, the government has announced and assured the House that they are willing to discuss any issue, provided the issue is raised within the provisions or the rules of the procedures. So the opposition has plenty of points. Like they can call a calling attention motion. They can even raise a short duration discussion. And some of the members even might have put questions regarding the revision in Bihar. So it's not that the government is, backing out of this discussion. But the question is, all the discussions in both houses of parliament, they have to be under certain rules of procedure. It cannot be just shouting brigade, asking for some discussion, and then not allowing the House to function. So the very valuable time of the House is wasted in this disruption which we witnessed today in both houses of parliament. And that's very unfortunate. When the forum is available for discussion, everything can be discussed on the floor of the House. Then why disruption? Why waste time of the House? And also it involves a lot of expenditure also in running the House. And some statistics will be available. One day proceedings, how much, loss of money in terms of money is there. So I think the prudent way for the opposition would have been to, give notice for discussion on any issue under the rules of procedure, rather than shouting and demanding immediate discussion on anything, etc.
So apart from all the issues being raised by the opposition parties, there would also be legislative agenda of the government. How do you see this session proceeding in terms of the government getting its way in terms of all these bills? There have been 7 pending bills, you said, also 8 new bills that are going to be introduced.
Generally speaking, monsoon session is for conducting the legislative business of the government. And that, I think the government will be able to do it, even if there are disruptions for, say, another couple of days. Even then, in the last week or so, as we have seen in the previous session, the government can transact that business and get the legislation passed. So I don't think the government has anything to worry, because they have a majority in both houses of parliament. So they have nothing to worry about it. But the only thing is that to satisfy the opposition demand for discussion, today the government so more to agreed, and that, I think, literally silenced the opposition today.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Ashok Tandon, senior journalist, for putting all that into perspective as the monsoon session of Parliament has commenced. Now, still to come here on DD India News Hour. The German Chancellor Friedrich Merz launches €600 billion initiative. Bangladesh Air Force training jet crashes into a building in Dhaka. And hundreds turn up to celebrate the victory of a far-right Sansitio party in the upper house election in Japan.
I'm Teresa from Austria, and I came with Stefan. He's also from Austria, and we came with our bicycles from Austria to India all the way. And we are very happy for being here in beautiful Kashmir, because the landscape, it's amazing. We really love it a lot, and people are so nice and hospitable. It's a long journey, but it's very beautiful.
But we were here for hiking 5 days, and we really love the landscape. It's so similar actually to the Austrian Alps that we felt home.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Well, a meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump might be possible this September if both leaders attend events commemorating the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II in Beijing. Now, Kremlin has said that it doesn't rule out the possibility of such a meeting. Meanwhile, Russia has downplayed the chances of a breakthrough in a fresh round of peace talks with Ukraine, saying that the two sides are holding diametrically opposed positions. Here's the report.
Russia on Monday downplayed the chances of a breakthrough in peace talks with Ukraine, saying the two sides held diametrically opposed positions hours after it launched a massive drone and missile barrage on Kiev. Moscow said a date for talks was being worked on after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky proposed holding fresh negotiations over the weekend.
There is our draft memorandum, but also there is this draft memorandum presented by the Ukrainian side. So the exchange of opinions and the talks are yet to be held on these two drafts. The drafts are so far totally and diametrically opposite. Therefore, a lot of diplomatic work is about to be done.
Meanwhile, reacting to media reports that Trump and Putin could meet in Beijing during the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the end of Second World War, the Kremlin said that it did not rule out the possibility of such a meeting. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov confirmed that Putin would visit China during this event, but Moscow had not heard if Donald Trump also planned to go there.
You know that we are preparing for a trip to Beijing. Our president is preparing for this trip. It is indeed on the schedule of the head of the state, but we haven't heard that President Trump is going there either to Beijing. If it happens so that he will also be there, then of course we cannot rule out that the question of expediency of holding a meeting will be raised.
Last week, the Times newspaper reported that China was positioning itself to hold a summit between Trump and Putin, who have spoken at least 6 times since Donald Trump returned to the White House in January. Meanwhile, Kiev's defense ministry has said that Ukraine needs an additional $6 billion to cover its defense procurement needs for 2025. Kiev said that additional funds are required for the production of more drones to maintain frontline defense lines, strengthen air defense, and for more deep strikes on Russia. On Monday, over 100 ambassadors and heads of Ukrainian diplomatic missions all over the world gathered in Kiev for a conference hosted by President Zelensky. The event is designed to enhance cooperation between Ukraine and its international partners to further Ukraine's interests on the global stage and boost diplomatic efforts in several crucial areas. Bureau Report, DD India.
The U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth welcomed the Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to the Pentagon on Monday. President Marcos will see Secretary of State Marco Rubio later in the day before meeting the U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House on Tuesday. During this meeting, both the leaders praised the nation's decade-old security alliance. With the Philippines facing intense pressure from China in the contested South China Sea, Marcos has pivoted closer to the United States, expanding access to Philippine military bases, and also this is amid China's threats towards Taiwan.
Our storied alliance has never been stronger or more essential than it is today. And together we remain committed to the Mutual Defense Treaty. And this pact extends to armed attacks on our armed forces, aircraft, or public vessels, including our Coast Guards, anywhere in the Pacific, including the South China Sea.
The European Union is exploring a broader set of possible countermeasures against the United States as prospects for an acceptable trade agreement with Washington fade. According to EU diplomats, an increasing number of EU members, including Germany, are now considering using wide-ranging anti-coercion measures, which would let the bloc target US services or curb access to public tenders in the absence of a deal. The European Commission, which negotiates trade agreements on behalf of the 27-member bloc, had appeared on course for an agreement in which the EU would still have faced a 10% US tariff on most of its exports, with some concessions. Such hopes now seem dashed after the US President Donald Trump's threat to impose 30% tariff by August 1, and following talks between the EU Trade Commissioner and US counterparts in Washington last week. An alliance of German companies, including Siemens and Deutsche Bank, pledged to invest at least 733 billion euros, billion dollars, not billion euros, in Germany over the next 3 years. Now, according to the companies, the $733 billion, it includes capital investments, expenditure on research and development, as well as commitments from international investors. The announcement comes as Germany seeks to reverse its sluggish growth to attract private capital and the creation of a special fund for infrastructure investment. The German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, he met with the CEOs at Berlin's Chancellery, and he said that Germany is back. It's worth investing in Germany again. Southern Syria is witnessing a tense calm after a brutal week of sectarian violence in Shweda. Now, thousands of lives have been lost and many have been forcibly displaced from their homes as clashes erupted between the Druze and the Bedouin fighters. India's Rahul Upadhyay puts it into context.
After a week of intense sectarian violence between Druze and Bedouin fighters in southern Syria's Shweda province, an uneasy calm returned on Sunday after fighters withdrew. Reports indicate more than 1,000 people were killed and many have been forcibly displaced from their homes. The violence in Shweda has posed a major test for interim President Ahmed al-Shara, drawing Israeli airstrikes last week and deepening fissures in a country fractured by 14 years of war. Bedouin families were seen leaving the village of Al-Mazra with their belongings on Monday, a day after residents reported calm in Syria's Shweda. However, Interior Minister Anas Khattab said that internal security forces had managed to control the situation and enforce the ceasefire. Families digging through debris in Shweda, seeking loved ones amid mounting mass graves. Aid convoys moving cautiously towards affected towns, escorted by Syrian Arab Red Crescent volunteers. Government troops forming checkposts in neighborhoods, trying to maintain the ceasefire and ensure peace. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
Iran, Russia and China will meet on Tuesday to discuss Tehran's nuclear program and the risk of sanctions being reimposed under the United Nations snapback mechanism, according to the Iranian Foreign Ministry. This comes after Britain, France and Germany, known as the E3, warned that they would reimpose sanctions on Tehran if there was no progress on nuclear talks by the end of August.
Tomorrow, we will hold a trilateral meeting with Russia and China in Tehran at the Director General level to discuss nuclear issues. Naturally, the topic of snapback to commitments will also be among the key subjects under discussion.
Well, meanwhile, Tehran blamed European powers for the failure of the 2015 nuclear deal, accusing them of breaking their commitments, which lifted sanctions on Iran in return for restrictions on its nuclear program. The US withdrew from that pact in 2018. His remarks come ahead of a meeting on Friday in Istanbul between Iranian officials and representatives from Britain, France and Germany to discuss the future of the nuclear deal.
The European parties have been at fault both due to negligence and failure to fulfill their obligations under the JCPOA.
Shifting focus now, a Bangladeshi Air Force training jet crashed into a college campus in the capital Dhaka shortly after takeoff on Monday, killing at least 20 people and injuring more than 170. The jet belonged to China's Chengdu J-7 F-7 aircraft family. The pilot of the aircraft was also killed after the Bangladesh Air Force's F-7 BGI training aircraft crashed inside Milestone College compound on Monday afternoon at around 1:30 p.m. local time. 3 firefighting units were dispatched to the scene. A senior official at Hazrat Shah Jalal International Airport also confirmed the incident, but did not provide immediate details regarding casualties or the cause of the crash. The Bangladesh government has announced a national day of mourning on Tuesday with flags to fly at half-mast across the country. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed deep shock at the loss of lives in the aircraft crash in Dhaka. Prime Minister Modi took to social media post X and he condoled to the loss of lives in the Bangladesh jet air crash. In the post, the Prime Minister said, and I quote, "Deeply shocked and saddened at the loss of lives, many of them young students in a tragic air crash in Dhaka. Our hearts go out to the bereaved families. We pray for the swift recovery of those injured. India stands in solidarity with Bangladesh and is ready to extend all possible support and assistance." The Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's ruling coalition has failed to secure a majority in the crucial parliamentary election. Despite the shortfall, Ishiba says that he vows to retain power, and this is in fact in a bid to crack a trade deal with Washington.
Japan's ruling coalition has lost its majority in the country's upper house, but Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has said he has no plans to quit. In Sunday's election, Ishiba's Liberal Democratic Party, or the LDP, fell 3 seats short of the target to retain a majority in the upper house. The Japanese Prime Minister said that he needed to continue in the office to oversee tariff talks with the United States and other pressing matters.
We believe that we must fulfill our responsibilities as the party with the most seats. We will do our utmost to find a way to resolve imminent issues such as the US tariff measures, rising prices, and natural disasters, and the most complex and challenging security environment of the post-war era.
In Sunday's election, only half of the 248-seat upper house were up for grabs. Added to the 75 coalition-held seats that are not being contested in this election, the LDP and coalition partner Komeito needed 50 to win. However, the coalition won only 47, taking the total to 122, 3 short for majority. The Constitutional Democratic Party, which is the main opposition, came in second with 22 seats. Meanwhile, the far-right party announced its arrival in mainstream politics, picking up 14 seats on top of its one existing seat. While US President Donald Trump has mounted pressure on Tokyo by criticizing the slow pace of trade negotiations, Ishiba's coalition came under major stress following a domestic price shortage. With the tariff deadline of 1st of August looming, Prime Minister Ishiba signaled his intent to seek direct talks with Donald Trump. But the loss in the recent polls is another blow to Ishiba's coalition, making it a minority in both the houses following its October defeat in the lower house election and worsening Japan's political instability. With agency inputs, Tripti Tripaঠি's report for DD India.
Okay, still to come here on DD India News Hour. We'll get an expert view on why one shouldn't jump to conclusions on the investigation into the AI-171 plane crash. ISRO is set to launch Nissar, a joint satellite with NASA, on the 30th of July. And the April to June quarter, exports have surged across key sectors: auto, electronics, garments.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar.
Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Well, the Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu defended the integrity of the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau into the tragic crash of the Air India flight AI-171 in Ahmedabad. Now, speaking in Parliament, he emphasized that the AAIB is totally unbiased and committed to a rules-based investigation process. He also highlighted that for the first time, India has successfully decoded the damaged black boxes domestically, in fact, marking a significant step in aviation safety oversight. And he called for media reporting into this investigation to be based on facts, not speculation. Here's our report. The interim AI-171 crash report has sparked claims mainly from Western media, which were derived through speculation and not facts. Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu defended Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau AAIB investigation as totally unbiased, highlighting its strict rule-based approach. Making a statement in Parliament on the ongoing probe into the AI-171 crash, he urged respect for the investigation and warned against rushed judgments driven by external narratives.
Now, there can be many questions also. I have seen multiple articles myself. I have seen multiple articles not only by the Indian media, but also the Western media trying to promote their own narrative, their own viewpoint, their own kind of consideration. But I have to tell you that the way we are seeing the investigation is through the facts.
He assured the public that the AAIB sticks strictly to facts, free from outside influence. He also said that for the first time, India decoded both cockpit voice recorder CVR and flight data recorder FDR within the country. A major step forward for India's aviation probe capacity, as these recorders are key to unraveling crash causes.
In fact, we say boxes in plural because it is made up of two different devices. One is the flight data recorder. It records all the input that has been entered into the computer and the real-time input of the pilot as well. It includes the trajectory, the speed, the attitude, and so on. The other one is the cockpit voice recorder. So as the name suggests, it includes the conversations in the cockpit. It also includes the conversation with the air traffic controllers as well.
Minister Naidu said the interim report is preliminary and meant to outline events, not offer full answers. The final report will deliver conclusions and safety fixes. Meanwhile, the Federation of Indian Pilots has sent legal notices to Western outlets for misrepresenting the findings.
We have clearly said, our lawyers have said, how we jump to these conclusions, which are not part of the preliminary report of the AIB. Are you blaming the pilots? So we have asked for an explanation, and we have asked that you need to give a statement in the press. And if they don't do it, then we'll see further action, whatever can be carried out based on the lawyer's advice.
The AI-171 probe by International Civil Aviation Organization standards includes global bodies, NTSB of the US, Boeing, GE, and civil aviation teams from the US, UK, Portugal, and Canada. Experts in medicine, air traffic control, and engineering are also involved. AAIB's mandate is to prevent future accidents, not assign legal liability. This keeps the investigation focused on facts and safety improvements.
To have a definitive answer and a definitive future correction measures, we have to look at the final report, sir. And I can say this to the House and through you to the people of this country also, that the AIB has a very definitive, thorough, rule-based process. They are very transparently looking into the process right now, and they are totally unbiased. This also I can say that the AIB is totally unbiased and looking into the facts.
The minister's comments also came amid speculation over the awaited South Korean Jeju crash final report from December 2024. Victims' families have protested against claims that this report cleared the airline of wrongdoing. Bureau Report, DD India. Well, we are joined by Orurubindo Handa, former Director General of the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, to help us break down, the topic of discussion, which is really about how people can jump to conclusions based on an interim report. Sir, does the absence of a full cockpit voice transcript and also flight data logs limit our understanding of pilot actions?
Jai Hind, Mark.
Yes, yes. Can you hear me, sir? Did you get me? You couldn't hear me?
Yeah, there was a little break.
Okay.
No, I didn't get you. I didn't get you, Allah.
Okay, I'll ask you again.
I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Little break.
Okay, I've been asked to ask you the question once again. Let me ask you that question. Does the absence of the full cockpit voice transcripts and also the flight data logs limit our understanding of what's happening in the cockpit, I mean the pilot's actions?
Jai Hind, everybody. Mark, it is very difficult to speculate as to what happened because any accident is not due to one failure. It is a combination of failures, and those failures align at a particular time. So let the AIB investigators work, dig deep into the causes, and come out with the report.
Right. I understand that you're having a problem with, I think, the foldback coming back into your ear. So I'm telling my producer to try and reduce that. But, let me go on to the next question. Is there any detail in the report also on the fuel switch mechanics? Can we simply conclude, that the pilots have switched them off or something like that? Can they not have malfunctioned?
Mark, we shouldn't hazard the guess at any point of time. See, there are, in my view, there are three options. The switch can mechanically malfunction. There can be an electronic malfunction, and there can be a chip, and there can be a chip malfunction.
Right.
And obviously, all these options, they will be considered deeply. The team will spend midnight oil.
Yes, indeed.
And they'll try to come out with the facts.
Okay. Can anyone, however seasoned they are, actually responsibly put the blame on somebody when the report avoids actually giving you the cause of the accident? They just actually pointed facts. It's an interim report. I mean, how are people deriving cause and causation in a sense with this interim report? Is it even advised? Should a seasoned person do this, or should they say with caution?
Mark, in my view, the preliminary report is it brings out the facts.
Yes.
It is too premature. It is too premature for any seasoned investigator or an aviator to come out to a conclusion. It's impossible.
Okay, that's well put. Now, how best then can we stick to the facts while reporting? Because it's going to take some time, I suppose, for the final report to come. In the meantime, people will always speculate, and there are so many mediums in which these things can come out. So how best should one actually stick to the facts?
Yeah, see, the accident of this magnitude has happened in India after about 4 decades. So there is no SOP, I would say, per se, but the wisdom demands that at regular interval, as and when some facts come out to AIB, through media, they should come out. They should try to sensitize the people.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Handa. Thank you for joining us. In fact, we're getting some breaking news at this point in time. And the breaking news is this, that the Vice President, Jagdeep Dhankhar, has resigned from office. We'll get you an update on this from our correspondent who's tracking this story. The Vice President has resigned from office. What is next? We'll figure out. Let's talk to Dibyendu Mondal, who is covering the story. Dibyendu, just give us the facts first of all. What's actually happened? Then we'll go into the reasons.
Well, Mark, this has been unprecedented because it is, in fact, perhaps if I can recall correctly, it is the first time that a vice president sitting in office has resigned in the middle of a parliament session, which is currently underway. Because he had put out a tweet from the Vice President of India's official handle, and the reason that the Vice President's resignation he has given, Jagdeep Dhankhar has given, is the fact that he has not been keeping well for some time. And it is a matter of fact that, Jagdeep Dhankhar has not been keeping well for quite some time. Remember, in the last session, Jagdeep Dhankhar had to miss, some of the first sittings of that budget session because he was not well and the doctors had asked him to take rest. He was also taking some breaks in between the sittings of the House because the doctors had advised him not to sit for a very long time. And therefore, the Vice Chairman of Rajya Sabha was conducting most part of the businesses in the last session. So therefore, this comes at a time when, just today itself, the monsoon session of Parliament began. And in fact, today itself, later in the evening, we have received this news coming in right from the Vice President of India's official Twitter handle, saying that he has in fact put in his resignation papers.
Right.
And he has in fact cited that health issue is the primary reason. And as if you allow me to read it out,
sure,
he
please.
says, and I quote, "To prioritize healthcare and abide by medical advice, I hereby resign as the Vice President of India effective immediately in accordance with Article 67 Part A of the Constitution." And he also goes on to say that he is he expresses his deepest gratitude to the Honorable President and also to the Prime Minister for giving opportunity to occupy such a high office in the country. He also says that his experience as the Vice President of India in conducting the houses of, conducting the upper house of Parliament has been an enriching experience. But therefore, this comes at a time when it is less than 3 years that he had been elected to office. He was elected on the 6th of August, 2022 as the Vice President. We are just couple of days ahead when he would be completing his 3 years. And before completing his 3 years in office, he has put in his resignation papers. And
Indeed.
Therefore, of course, it is a big political development because this will now open up the position for the Vice President, and the government will have to elect a new Vice President. Until then, the procedure says that the Vice Chairman of the Rajya Sabha will be conducting the proceedings of the House till the time a new Vice President is elected. And of course, this is, as I said in the beginning, this is very, very unprecedented. I don't recall any Vice President resigning from office, especially in the middle of a Parliament session.
Indeed, and you mentioned Article 67, and Article 67 actually talks about the Vice President's office itself. It outlines the terms of the office, the Vice President, and specifically the term of 5 years from the date on which he or she assumes the office. So he has resigned based on Article 67A, which gives him the right to resign. And then he has put that, that resignation, of course, is addressed to the President of India. But you mentioned now that, in the interim, because he's asked for resignation immediately, the deputy, the Rajya Sabha will be taken over by the Deputy Chairman, who will act as the Chairman. But then who acts as the Vice President of India?
See, Mark, the Constitution does mention the Vice President of India as a position, but the primary responsibility of the Vice President of India is the conduction of the duties in the upper house. So in the absence of the Vice President now, it is the Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha that will be conducting the businesses till the time a new elected Vice President the process of election of a new vice president is completed. So therefore, now the deputy chairman, however, the position of vice president will remain vacant because the vice president primarily does not have any other constitutional duties apart from fulfilling his constitutional duty as the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. So therefore, it is the deputy chairman who will lead the House till the time and a new vice president is elected. But Mark, also let me tell you, when we were talking about the health issues, remember that Jagdeep Dhankhar had not been keeping well, and he was admitted, in fact, to the All India Medical Sciences in Delhi on the 9th of March earlier this year, due to some cardiac issues. He had complaints of chest pain and heaviness in his chest and oxygen level declining. And remember, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had also gone to AIIMS to visit him. And since then, we had been hearing about the fact that he has not been keeping well. And now that, it seems that the health has taken a real toll on the Vice President of India, Jagdeep Dhankhar, and he has decided to resign and take care of his health, which is, of course, priority for all individuals.
Right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Divyendu Mandal, for putting us, giving us the information about the Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar putting in his papers. In a sense, he has resigned from the post immediately because of health reasons. Now, moving on to our next story, in a big boost to India's manufacturing and export ambitions, the latest data reveals strong export growth across key sectors from automobiles to electronics and garments in the April to June quarter of this financial year. India's automobiles exports have increased by 22%, while electronics exports have jumped 47%, highlighting India's emergence as a global manufacturing hub. DD India's Yash Chaturvedi reports.
India's export engine is firing full throttle and propelling the surge in the automobile, electronics and textiles sector's overseas sales, a testament of the nation's expanding footprint in global markets. According to the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, India's automobile exports jumped 22% year-on-year in the April to June quarter of 2025, touching 1.45 million units, compared to 1.19 million units in the same period last year. The growth has been powered by a stable global demand, with Middle East and Latin America showing strong appetite for Indian vehicles. Revival of markets in Sri Lanka and Nepal, rising shipments to Japan, and the impact of free trade agreements with nations like Australia further added boost to the exports. Passenger vehicle exports at an all-time high, 13% growth in April-June quarter year-on-year. Maruti Suzuki, top exporter with 37% growth. Hyundai Motor India, overseas shipments up 13%. Robust growth across other vehicle segments. Two-wheeler exports up 23%, three-wheeler exports jumped 34%, commercial vehicle exports grew 23%. Parallel to this, India's electronics exports recorded a remarkable 47% growth, reaching $12.41 billion in the first quarter of fiscal year 2025. The United States, UAE, and China emerged as the top destinations for Indian electronics, with the US alone accounting for 60.17% of these exports. The textile sector also showed increase in exports of ready-made garments, climbed to $4.19 billion, up from $3.85 billion in the same quarter last year. The US remains the top buyer, commanding 34.11% of India's garment exports, followed by the UK, UAE, Germany, and Spain. With trade numbers on the rise, India is confidently marking its position as a key player in the global manufacturing and export landscape. These numbers are a positive signal for India's economic and manufacturing push to its goal of becoming a global manufacturing hub. Yash Chaturvedi's report for DD India.
Well, some good news now, as ISRO, in a social media post on X, has informed about the upcoming historic launch of ISRO, set to launch Nissar, which is a joint satellite with NASA. Now, the 30th of July at 17:40 hours Indian Standard Time, ISRO's GSLV F-16 will launch Nissar, the first joint Earth observation satellite by ISRO and NASA from Sriharikota. Nissar will scan the entire globe every 12 days, providing high-resolution, all-weather, day and night data. It can detect even, subtle changes in the Earth's surface like ground deformation, ice sheet shifts, and vegetation dynamics. This mission will support many critical applications, including sea ice monitoring, ship detection, storm tracking, also soil moisture changes, surface water mapping, and disaster response. A milestone in over a decade of collaboration between ISRO and NASA. The full form of Nissar is NASA-ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar. So NASA also held a press conference. They've discussed the upcoming Nissar, which is the NASA-ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar mission, and the Earth Observing Mission. It's a joint collaboration between NASA and ISRO, which is, of course, the Indian Space Research Organization. Now, Wendy Edelstein, who's the Deputy Project Manager of Nissar NASA JPL, enumerated the features of this mission.
So right now, the Nissar satellite is in India in its final preparations for launch, coming up on July 30th. I wanted to orient you to what Nissar is before we get too far along. So over here is a 1/3 scale model of what Nissar will look like when it's on orbit. What you see here is the spacecraft bus is this square cube over here on the right, and that's what provides all the services to operate the satellite. These solar array panels are attached to the spacecraft bus, and that's for powering the system. Now, this octagonal gold structure, that's what houses the two radar systems, and I'll talk more about those in a moment. But the radars are then used to illuminate this very large antenna you see here, and that's probably the most prominent feature that the Nissar satellite.
Well, the Nissar is what she says, and in fact, it's good for monitoring weather conditions, and severe weather conditions continue to lash parts of the globe as typhoons and relentless flooding, have disrupted lives. South Korean president had visited flood-hit areas and pledged a swift and thorough response to the disaster. In Vietnam, they've braced for Typhoon Wifa as coastal provinces were placed on emergency alert.
Entire world is currently experiencing a combination of extreme weather events, including heavy rain and flooding in various regions, alongside wildfires in Turkey and Spain. Vietnam's Prime Minister has put coastal provinces on emergency footing for Typhoon Wifa, saying it could cause flooding and landslides, as the airline cancelled flights ahead of the storm's expected landfall early on Tuesday. Typhoon Wifa has also sidewiped Hong Kong and parts of southern China, causing widespread disruption. Heavy rainfall is forecast to continue across coastal regions in South China until Tuesday morning. On the other hand, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung visited flood-hit areas in southern provinces on Monday, pledging a swift and thorough response to the disaster that has battered parts of the country this week. Meanwhile, Turkish firefighters battled flames overnight on Monday in a blaze that broke out in the country's northwest, forcing evacuations in 2 villages. 12 helicopters and 6 planes were working to extinguish the fire. Italy braced for a new surge of intense heat as meteorologists warn that southern regions and major islands may fear near record temperatures. Meanwhile, India's national capital got a respite from severe heat, as Delhi NCR and adjoining areas received heavy rains. Besides this, Meteorological Department also issued orange alert for a very heavy rain in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh in the northern side. Rising global temperatures exacerbate extreme weather events, leading to more frequent and intense heat waves, floods, and droughts. These changes pose serious threats to human health, infrastructure, and the environment. Bureau Report, DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get you the sports news now. And India's men's doubles pair of Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty, they'll eye a strong start at the China Open Badminton Tournament starting in Changzhou. This is on Tuesday. The Indian pair will open their campaign against Japan's Kinya Matsuhashi and Hiroki Okamura. The former world #1 pair They have reached 3 semi-finals this season, including the Malaysia and India Open in January, but their progress was stalled by health concerns. On their return, the duo made the semi-finals at the Singapore Open and the quarter-finals at the Indonesia Open. In singles, Lakshya Sen, HS Pranoy and PV Sindhu will hope to regain form. It is the major event before the World Championships, scheduled from the 25th to the 31st of August in Paris. The felicitation ceremony to honor the Indian contingent that returned victorious from the Gothia Cup 2025 held in Delhi on Monday. Now, on this occasion, the president of the Special Olympics, Bharat, Dr. Malika Nadda, she spoke to DD India correspondent Narayan Singh, and she said that the Special Olympics Bharat is making every possible effort to promote inclusivity in society.
Joining me, the President of the Special Olympic Bharat and the Chairperson of the Asia Pacific Advisory Council, Dr. Malika Nadda ji. Madam, a very warm welcome and congratulations. The way our boys team, the boys team of the Special Olympic Bharat defended the title, but this time around it is in the level 2. How you look this progress of the Special Olympic Bharat football team?
I am thankful to Special Olympics Bharat team and SKF for training our athletes and giving opportunity to the Special Olympics program and the athletes to participate in the Gothia Cup, which is a world-class competition where more than 70 countries participated and for more than 50,000 athletes, football fans were there participating in the Football Cup. So it was a great honor to be a part of this great ceremony and the function which we were able to attend at Sweden. And our special athletes did wonders, bringing laurels to our country and again getting the Gothia Cup in the finals.
Talking about the program launched by the Special Olympic Bharat, each one, reach one. How you look this initiative to bring the inclusivity in society?
It's a call for everyone to reach one person, each one reach one, through the Special Olympics program, where we want every special person, every Divyangjan to get a partner, to get a friend, to get a mentor who will and be with them and be their guardian and lead them to be independent members in the society.
The way our team in the Gothia Cup defended the title, the way things are happening, soon we will see such event also being organized in India. With camera person Manmohan, Narayan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
That's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn. From all of us here in Delhi, thank you very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.